This is the Toyota Tundra TRD PRO, and it's the kind of truck for people that want to do a fair amount of this and this. It's an incredibly capable truck for the customers and consumers that are keen to own vehicles with this kind of performance. The TRD PRO needs to be more than just a truck with a fancy paint job and some exclusive equipment. It needs to be something that's good off-road, but additionally something that is totally usable on road as well. So in this video, I'm going to determine what is this vehicle like as a daily driver and how does it stack up against other full-size pickup trucks, and then at the end of the video I'll determine where it lies in my ranking system. So without further ado, let's break down the 2019 Toyota Tundra TRD PRO. A little bit of backstory with this generation of Tundra. This second generation came out in 2007 and it went through a bit of a light refresh in 2014. That gave it an updated grille, updated lights, a few other pieces of equipment. But for the 2019 model year, the most crucial thing about it, and the reason that I have this TRD PRO with me, is that it's now back in the lineup. It took a little bit of a hiatus, but Toyota brought it back with a few new pieces of kit. There's been TRD off-roads and TRD sports, but this is the big daddy. This is the full expression of what the Toyota racing development team can do to the Tundra. And this thing isn't messing around with the amount of exclusive equipment it comes with. To spit off all of the TRD trimmings, we have these unique leather seats, red stitching throughout, a unique Toyota heritage grille, blacked out badges, a skid plate up front, dual exhaust with these blacked out exhaust tippings. I really like that. The rigid industry LED fog lamps, these 18-inch wheels. It's also interesting to see that this TRD PRO actually has the name stamped into the bed. I think for the other TRDs, the off-road and the sport, only TRD is stamped in, and then the rest of the lettering is just stickered on. The TRD PRO has its own suspension setup with a 2-inch lift and 2.5-inch Fox shock absorbers front and rear, with the rear featuring a remote reservoir. This vibrant exterior color is called Voodoo Blue, and it's an exclusive to the TRD PRO lineup. Perhaps the most notable thing that isn't in this TRD PRO that you can find in the TRD PRO 4Runner and the Tacoma is that this car doesn't have cruise control. You still have the selectable 4-wheel drive with 4 high and 4 low, but those other vehicles have dials up on the top here where you have your sunroof controls, and that's absent here. The TRD PRO package can be added onto the SR5 Plus 4x4 either as the double cab configuration or the Crew Max configuration. That's the vehicle that you see here in this video. With the Crew Max, you get a 5.5 foot bed, and then with the shorter double cab, you have the longer 6.5 foot bed. The upcharge from going from the double cab to the Crew Max is about $2,400 here in Canada. Firing off all of that equipment with the exclusive TRD PRO, you've also got to know that with the SR5 Plus, on which this vehicle is based on, you're going to have the heated front seats, the 7-inch touchscreen, doesn't have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, but it's a fairly responsive system. You see it in quite a few other Toyotas. The selectable 4-wheel drive, the power rear window, and Toyota Safety Sense P. So that is your radar assisted cruise control, pedestrian detection, and automatic high beams. After showing you a couple clips of some light off-roading, what does the TRD PRO feel like as a regular daily driver on the same roads that anybody else would drive on in any other car? Well, on the off-roading standard, I think it's an incredibly comfortable vehicle, and here on the road, the same applies as well. It's got huge chunky tires with these 18-inch rims, so that's absorbing a lot of the imperfections in the road. But this feels remarkably comfortable. The seats are, I think, a little firmly padded. There isn't enough leg support for a tall guy like me. I'm 6'4", and quite a lot of my leg is hanging over the edge. But going back to driving, perhaps my favorite element of this Tundra is the 5.7 litre V8. It has 381 horsepower, 401 pound-feet of torque, and it's quite a characterful engine. It has this distant but cheerful rumble, and if you ever need to accelerate quickly, it actually has a rather sonorous exhaust note. Dropping that rear window down and really hitting the exhaust, you'll have quite a nice noise coming into the cabin. Let me demonstrate that for you now. Definitely my favorite part about this truck. It's mated to a bit outdated of a transmission. It's a 6-speed unit, and with so many trucks in this class that now have 8 speeds or 10 speeds, it is certainly lacking behind, and that is something that contributes to the very poor fuel economy that this vehicle gets. But it's consistent and it's smooth and it's dependable, so I'm not taking too much issue with it. The steering is perhaps a little bit of a different story. It's light, making this a very easy vehicle to drive day to day, but it's quite vague. You have a hard time understanding exactly where the front wheels are pointing. For highway driving, wind noise isn't bad at all. The wing mirrors are quite large, and I thought that would contribute to a rather noisy space, but frankly it isn't. Those mirrors can actually fold forwards and backwards, and the reason for them folding the wrong way is that if you were ever off-roading and you hit a tree or something, you would know that it's gone past its point of holding without actually breaking the whole wing mirror off. Is there anything else to say about the driving experience? Again, you can keep the vehicle in 2-wheel drive or 4-high. Regular driving like this, just kind of going at middling speeds, 2-wheel drive is more than enough to take care of you. So then after that, what does that leave you with? A cabin. Well, the Tundra is certainly built to last rather than impress. It's got a lot of hard plastics throughout the interior, up on the door cards, kind of where you rest your elbows. The steering wheel is a bit of a hard plastic. But what do I like? Well, you've got tons of storage available for you. A little rubberized mat up here where you could throw your phone. 3 cup holders, plenty of space down here besides. The interior of this center console is huge, and I prefer this overall cabin over the 4Runner Nightshade that I had, because it was just a slew of black plastics, and it was a really kind of dark and gloomy place to be. But with this having the red stitching that's unique to the TRDPRO, adds a little more vibrancy. I like having the silver detail, and we've got some brushed metal up here surrounding the dials and the touchscreen. I just wish that this brushed metal look could carry over to the door cards here, where we have this silver detail and the door handles or something. I think that would add more of a flair to this interior. But being in here, you could never forget that you're in a Toyota Tundra TRD PRO. They want you to remember what vehicle you've bought. Everything's no nonsense, very well laid out. I love these chunky buttons and the dials. So the Tundra interior is a bit of a mixed bag. I don't mind spending time here, but it isn't the most refined, the most luxurious vehicle that you can get in this class or this price point. And we can't forget the lack of equipment that the Tundra doesn't have. For example, you can't have a heated steering wheel in this vehicle. There's no Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. It doesn't have the latest and greatest active safety system, so there's no lane keep assist, for example, no 360-degree cameras, no keyless entry anywhere in this model lineup. Finishing up my thoughts with the interior, let's talk about the back seats. One thing to note is that the TRD PRO doesn't have running boards, so if you're shorter, getting in and out might be a slight challenge. But in the back seats, it's very roomy back there. Sitting 3 people abreast will be no issue, but it is quite barren. You don't have a full glass sunroof. There aren't much for power options or temperature controls. And a feature that's absent with the Tundra is that when you lift up those seats, there is no hidden storage space. There's no bins or things to divide that you can get in the Ford F-150 or the Ram 1500. And with this model, you can't fold the back seats down. It's only the seat bases that lift up. And then finally, for the bed of this truck, like I said, you have this in the Crew Max with a 5.5 foot bed. It has a dampened tailgate, and this model that you see before you, there's no way to release it from the key fob, as this is your key. The Tundra TRD PRO is absolutely the kind of vehicle for people that have a desire to put some kind of off-road vehicle on their driveway, and the TRD PRO is absolutely something that is capable of fulfilling that desire. But it has surprised me of how well of a regular daily driver it is. Even with all the TRD upgrades, it doesn't stack up well to most modern trucks. Like I said, it's lacking a lot of refinement with, superior materials. It doesn't have the latest technology, although it is a vehicle that is still very capable of fulfilling an easy day-to-day drive and something that you could live with every single day. The TRD PRO adds equipment that any off-roading enthusiast will appreciate and respect. And for anybody that is looking for a vehicle that has that capability, the TRD is something that you should absolutely look at. But if you're seriously looking at a truck to do the regular day-to-day commuting and you don't see yourself doing any of those clips that you saw at the beginning of this video, I know the Tundra is a little down in competition compared to other manufacturers' latest iterations of their full-size pickup trucks. So for that reason, I think that the TRD PRO is a vehicle that you should take for a test drive, see if it's something that you could spend daily driving, even in any configuration. There are other trucks in this class that have the latest in technology, better refinement, better fuel economy, and are simply far more modern. So that's been everything from me. Thank you so much for taking the time to watching this video here on the Drive Guide. Please hit that like button if you liked it, share it if you think other people will like it too, and if you want to hit that subscribe button just down below, that does the world for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again.